you agree with me that the #1 violator of the labor code is the government itself?
If we are to use as a metric yung engagement ng COS or JOs, may validity po yung may valid point po kayo by saying na nagba-violate ng government yung labor code. Pero I don't know kung we can.
I agree with you, and may part din na hindi po nag-agree. Karamihan po kasi ng mga trabaho ng mga JOs and COS usually necessary and desirable. Kaya nga paulit-ulit sila na paulit-ulit sila na nilalagay diyan Pero yung mga JO at COS 10 years doing the same jobs. So gusto po nating tugunan ang problemang ito. Nang sa gayon mabigyan naman natin ng hustisya yung mga manggagawa who has been working for decades already doing the same job all over again, pero hindi sila ma-regular. Nabanggit nyo nga po kanina sa definition ng pagiging JO at COS worker, hindi sila entitled sa mga benepisyo. Hindi sila entitled doon sa mga proteksyon gaya ng natatanggap ng isang regular na mga manggagawa. Thank you, Madam Chair, kasi nakasulat doon para lang po sa kalinawan. Pag COS, engagement of services of an individual as consultant, learning service provider, or technical expert to undertake special project or jobs within a specific period. At ang JO naman, yan yung mga pakyaw or emergency jobs for a short duration and for a specific piece of work. Would you agree? Tama po yun, no?
Yes.
Okay po. Now, on the Joint Circular number 1 series of 2017 and the updates thereof, sabi, COS and JO workers should not, in any case, be made to perform functions which are part of the job description of the agency's existing regular employees. Alam niyo po, sa practice, hindi nangyayari to. Hindi po nagaganap to. Kahit pumunta po kayo sa kahit anong ahensya ng gobyerno, pumunta ka sa LGU, makikita niyo po dyan, yung mga JO at COS routinely performing core and substantive functions like that of a regular employee. Mag-agree po ba kayo dito, Madam Chair?
Hindi po namin pwedeng i-generalize na lahat ng JOs and COS because even in our offices, Honorable Kong, may mga COS po kami who we engage for purposes lang of addressing our backlogs of cases. Pagtapos doon, imprudent na po kasi mag-maintain ng that number of people na maggagawa ng cases, for example, to assist us in drafting decisions and study cases kung naubos na po namin yung backlog. So in those limited situations po, beneficial po ang JOs and COS. Pero I agree po with you na medyo talamak po yung engagement ng COS and JOs to circumvent yung civil service laws natin.
Thank you po, Madam Chair. Maganda pong admission yun from our colleagues from CSC na talagang talamak ang JO at COS sa ating gobyerno. We will go into that later po. So paano po minomonitor ngayon ng CSC at ini-enforce ng CSC itong Joint Circular number 1 series of 2017 and Joint Circular number 2 series of 2020. So what are the actions for the violations po dito?
If you notice po, yung Joint Circular po was executed by COA and DBM. So largely it's a recognition na yung JOS and COs po within the jurisdiction of COA and DBM. Very limited po yung aming function dyan. In fact, wala na po kami dun sa Joint Memorandum Circular. So kung kino-consult lang po kami tungkol dyan, dun lang kami nagbibigay ng opinion. Pero as regards the implementation of that Joint Circular, sir, hindi po kami.
Wala po sa saklaw ng trabaho po ng CSC. Thank you for that po. Now, punta naman po tayo dun sa pagiging talamak ng mga JOs at COS. Sabi po kasi sa Article 295 ng Labor Code natin, yan yung patungkol sa regular and casual employees. So kapag regular ka na manggagawa, tinatawag kang regular kapag usually necessary and desirable yung ginagawa mo sa isang kumpanya o kahit sa gobyerno. Except when the employment has been fixed for a specific project or where the work or service to be performed is seasonal in nature and the employment is for the duration of the season. Would you agree with me that most of the jobs of JOs and COS are usually necessary and desirable, Madam Chair?
We cannot answer with certainty po, Kong, kung ganun yung nangyayari na desirable and necessary, na they are being engaged to perform the services which are supposed to be performed by regular plantilla possessions. But we were not born yesterday naman po. So we acknowledge na mayroon mga nangyayaring ganun po talaga. And if you're going to permit us to explain, for example po sa LGUs, if we see the data po, ang LGUs po ay meron siyang vacant possessions na 75,512. Pero pag titingnan nyo yung JOs and COS sa LGUs, 650,571. Napakalaki po yung diferensya. Siguro naman po dun sa laking diferensya yon, there are JOs and COS there performing desirable and necessary na mga trabaho. Pero tingnan din natin yung perspective ng mga LGUs. Bakit nila ginagawa yun? Number one, ang nakikita po namin, yung PS limitation. They are only allowed to have 40% ng kanilang budget for PS. Paano po nila gagawin yung ibang mga trabaho ng LGUs kung ganun lang kaliit yung PS na pwede nilang gamitin sa kanilang mga empleyado? Kaya siguro po, napupuwersa sila na mag-engage ng COS and JOS para matugunan yung mga serbisyo doon, among others. Siyempre, hindi ko naman po tinatanggal na may mga bad eggs dyan na nag-engage lang para sa patronage politics nila. Pero, there are, sa laki ng number na to, I'm pretty sure, yung reality sa grounds, kailangan nila mag-engage ng COS kasi severely limited sila dun sa cap, dun sa PS savings.
I agree with you, and may part din na hindi po nag-agree. Karamihan po kasi ng mga trabaho ng mga JOs and COS, usually necessary and desirable. Kaya nga paulit-ulit sila na paulit-ulit sila na nilalagay diyan Pero yung mga JO at COS, 10 years doing the same job. Isn't it not usually necessary and desirable? Kaya nag-agree po ako dun sa binabanggit nyo. Kaya ako po tinatanong to dahil napakatalamak po talaga ng JOs at COS sa gobyerno natin. And would you agree with me that the number one violator of the labor code is the government itself?
If we are to use as a metric yung engagement ng COS or JOs, may validity po may valid point po kayo by saying na nagva-violate ng government yung labor code. Pero I don't know kung we can term ourselves as number one violator kasi we don't know kung ano yung metrics na gagawin natin.
Kaya ako po nabanggit na number one violator ang gobyerno ng labor code natin dahil yung sheer number, percentage to employment ng JO and COS, napakalaki po talaga ng mga JO at COS, mga contractual. So pag sinasabi natin, laban tayo sa contractualization, hindi lang tayo pumapatungkol sa private sector. Dapat para pamarisan ng pribadong sektor, yung gobyerno, at tutulan ng contractualization, dapat mag-umpisa tayo sa sarili nating bakod. Would you agree with me, Madam Chair?
Yes, Kong.
Apo. Sige po, thank you, Madam Chair. Now, dito po sa inventory of government human resource, yan na po, nabanggit na natin kanina, very alarming. Yung pagballoon, actually one-third ng civil servants natin in 2025 nasa JO and COS. Yet in last year's budget briefing, CSE said that there were 203,079 unfilled positions across the government. So why does this paradoxical situation persist where the number of temporary hires balloons while permanent positions remain vacant? Madam Chair.
If I may be allowed to answer,
Yes po.
Maraming mga reasons and depende po kung saan ahensya. Magkakaiba po kasi yung features ng pag-employ ng JOs and COS. I mentioned a while ago dun sa case ng LGUs. And while many of the LGUs are forced to engage COS and JOs because of their cap in their PS, of course, meron ding mga, they're using the JOs and COS for patronage politics. May mga iba, like NGAs naman, medyo iba yung dimension po nung pag-engage nila ng JOs and COS. There's no scientific study pa deep diving on the reasons kung bakit, pero we have anecdotal evidence siguro, if we may say that, or observation ng grounds kung bakit nagkakaganon. Marami po pa rin kasing positions na obsolete na, like bookbinders. Sino bang nangangailangan ng bookbinders? But agencies are reserving it kasi DBM wants na scrap and build. So, iiwan muna nila yon para magamit nila eventually. We also admit na kasi agencies have the discretion to set their own qualification standards. Some agencies are setting very high qualification standards na mahirap po makapasok. May mga iba po, we admit din na may mga agencies that are deliberately not opening their positions dahil may mga medyo pinapaboran silang mga gustong makapasok. A fourth siguro na factor na kino-consider din is medyo mababa pa rin yung salary grades, especially for the level 1 positions. So yun yung mga several factors. We cannot attribute the specific percentage po dahil magkakaiba-iba kada group of agencies, but these are the main factors na na-observe namin whenever we try to analyze po yung data on unfilled positions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, maganda po na nabanggit niyo, no? Ilan naman po tingin nyo yung sa mga JO, COS positions could feasibly be converted to permanent or casual positions given the current fiscal space, and what would be the projected cost?
Kung as much as we want to answer that, I think DBM po ang makakasagot.
Okay.
We don't have the data po to address that question.
Okay. Salamat po. Gusto ko lang po i-din, I am one with the CSE in addressing po itong prevalence ng JO and COS. Talagang napakatalamak po niyan. Gusto ko lang pong bigyang diin na ang pinakamaraming bilang ng mga kontraktual na mga manggagawa ay mismong nasa gobyerno. Dito nga lang po sa House of Representatives, marami dyan, nakakausap ako. Talagang nirereklamo po patungkol JO and COS. So gusto po nating tugunan ang problemang ito. Nang sa gayon, mabigyan naman natin ng hustisya yung mga manggagawa who has been working for decades already, doing the same job all over again, pero hindi sila maregular. Nabanggit nyo nga po kanina sa definition ng pagiging JO at COS worker, hindi sila entitled sa mga benepisyo. Hindi sila entitled doon sa mga proteksyon gaya ng natatanggap ng isang regular na mga manggagawa. Kami po ay kaisa ninyo sa hangarin na yan para matugunan natin yung problema sa paglobo ng JO and COS. And
Excuse me.
yes, I'm wrapping up, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I'm wrapping up. So yun po ang commitment from this representation. I will be supporting, ganina po nag-usap na rin po kami ni Chair. Suportahan po namin ang CSC at hopefully po masuportahan nyo rin ang measure ng House of Representatives sa pagtugon sa problema ng lumulobong bilang ng contract of service and JO workers. Yun lang po, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative San Fernando, for this, that you've made, appreciated that you've made really good points. And now may we recognize our Vice Chair, Representative Rufus Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, our Vice Chair Cha and Chair Mika. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Congratulations to the Civil Service Commission, with Chairperson, we have here Marlene Baruayap. Outstanding performance, 5 points out of 5. And that is the result because our chairperson was also an outstanding Secretary General of this House. And so it just follows. And because of that, I saw in your report there are rewards and so forth. You should be rewarded because of your performance. And that is why I'm very glad that our Chair Mika already requested you for the what could be given. The budget was 4.1 from NEP. B. You wanted to get 6.5 or a 2.4 increase. We cannot give that. Although we want to reward you because we are lowering everything to give to education and health what they really deserve. But we are helpful. We will help you, especially on what you stated about the national digitalization rollout and the infrastructure that goes with it. So can you tell me now how much will this cost? Because we are very much in support of this. I understand 300 million for the rollout. How much, excluding the Philippine Civil Service Modernization project, would you need for next year so that we can already bring this to the regions, especially because our outstanding regional director of Region 10, Noime Rabi, is here. Noime, can you stand up because you're doing very well in Cagayan de Oro for Region 10? Thank you. So we want this to already go to Cagayan de Oro and Region 10. So maybe know how much would that be, because we would like to get figures if they're already available.
As I said a while ago, the target for 2026 is 50,000, but personally, I think this is not a realistic number kasi ang gusto sana namin, kahit yun ang sinet nung ginawa yung Memorandum of Agreement with the PISEO, is we target regions, targeted ang paglagay, hindi bigla lang yung ganon, para maganda yung paggamit ng pera at malalim yung pasok ng training program for them. So out of 300 billion, we would appreciate if you could give us an initial group that would cover training for at least, 4, 5, or 6 regions, priority regions, and then go out from there. We promise, however, sir, ayokong magbigay ng specific amount, but we will submit within the day or until tomorrow yung kung magkano ang pwedeng i-break down doon sa 300 million for 2026.
No need to break it down. 300 million is just very small. So let's proceed with all. We would appreciate all regions, no? 16 regions of our country.
Yes,
what I'm asking now is we give the 300 in the proper time. I will move with the plenary for that. But the infrastructure one also, how much would that be? We want to help. We want to be clear, and we want to be of help.
Can we give the data to you within the
committee? 300 million plus to the committee, please, so that they will give to us, so that we want to roll this out already with the infrastructure.
Thank you. We will submit it to the committee as soon as possible.